Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining our webinar this morning. We will start the webinar in a few minutes, give some time to others to join. So bear with us a few moments and we will start the program momentarily. Thank you. We will start in 2 minutes. We will start in 1 minute. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining this morning for our 8th and last webinar under our series of technology and innovation that we held during the month of October. We will still have a few more webinars coming up in November and December. More information will be available shortly. In the meantime, for today, if you have any questions, feel free to submit them in the chat function. We will be more than happy to handle those at the end of the presentation. And it's my pleasure to introduce to you today MobileXpense. So Jeroen, Tine, the floor is all yours. Thank you very much for your partnership this morning.
Yeah, thanks Pascal for this introduction. Welcome from myself to all of you. My name is Tine Vandenbreeden. I recently joined MobileXpense on the 1st of September of this year as the new CEO, taking the lead on the team and driving growth at MobileXpense. I bring with me 25 years of expertise in software and sales. On the European continent, in large corporations, and today at MobileXpense. And I will co-host this session with my colleague Jeroen. Jeroen Maes, who brings with him a history of 10 years in the fintech industry and who is currently, since several years, leading our pre-sales team at MobileXpense. I think, Jeroen, you can enlighten us after my introduction on MobileXpense. Fully trust you'll do a great job at that. So what do we have in store for you today? We want to talk about expense management. But before we do so, it is not really an interactive session at this part. We'll do that at the end in a Q&A. I do want to let you sit back and think about what it means to you. The question is for you, how much do you think you can save on expense management by having the best in-class expense management solution in place? Probably you thought about it in the past. Try to imagine an amount. Try to imagine a percentage that it represents to you. If you want to share with the colleagues here on the call, don't hesitate to put it in the chat. The idea is to visualize what that amount or that percentage of the total spend represents to you. I can't look today into your businesses. I can't look into your mind, but allow me, from my point of view, to share the story of one of the customers I engaged with over the last weeks. I spoke in detail, or we spoke in detail with Michel Weber, who is managing spend at Recticel, one of the Belgian leading companies and a customer of MobileXpense. For Michel, when he answered that questions years ago, when they started their change project on controlling and managing expense spend, it was not clear, but he was able, after the project, to come with some very precise numbers on what the saving represented for them. At Recticel, through the project which they did, they achieved to have, out of a total travel spend of 9 million, a saving of 1 million. 1 million, which was divided over two categories of savings. The first one, about 1/4 of it, 125% of it, through a simplified administration. With the words of Michel, and I invite you to listen to his story, it was to enable each of the employees and the managers of these employees to control, to monitor, and to plan ahead in a proactive way, taking out uncertainties and spend cost categories which were unknown and under the surface. Large portion of it, about 75%, was then the optimization of the spend itself. Proactively planning ahead, understanding how they could leverage the power towards they had by knowing the insights of their spend towards their vendors, finding out how they could make the spend more compliant, how they could use different tax regulations and the knowledge about these to do VAT optimizations. So all in all, to Michel, it was 1 million out of 9, which he achieved. I'm pretty sure by now your memory goes like, what does it mean to me? To Michel, it meant at the time that he could invest that 1 million into his employees experience. Today's COVID situation requires all of us to take care of the people. We're all working out of our homes. So we all are stretched to the maximum with regards to the relation we have to our employers. To him, it meant an equivalent of 1,000 new iPhones to get all of his employees on their smartphone connected. It could have meant as well 317 MacBooks, which he could invest into his employees and into running the business. I think it also could have meant to him at that stage to invest into a greener world and having his mobility, his car park develop into one with 20 new Teslas. So that's a lot. There was a lot to Recticel, and that is a lot to Recticel today. The question for you is, what does it mean to me? What does it mean to my company? Not the question to answer to you today, but what I can answer to you today is how MobileXpense can actually help you to get there, to get to your saving of that 1 million. How do we do that? 4 key things, and I'm sure that Jeroen will deep dive on them later on in the session, but let me lay them out already for you today. First of all, MobileXpense helps you as a company to get a grip on your costs. We will improve the efficiency and obtain valuable insights that allow your finance team and your management team, by extension, to make smarter decisions. Knowing allows you to act upon that knowledge. Right now, as we are going through this crisis, the feedback which I'm getting from customers and prospects is that more than ever, controlling this specific cost for the company is something that has a focus. Second thing which MobileXpense can help you to do is that we offer you a change-proof global compliance. You can actually offer to the company peace of mind or a more controlled situation with regards to being compliant in managing, controlling, handling all of the employee expenses. We offer that standard in over 70 plus country specifics, but more important, we make this all change proof, because as we know today, governments are changing the rules of the game, and with good reasons, by the way. As they are trying to stimulate economy, they are changing rules, they are helping industries and businesses by these changes. MobileXpense has a system and an expertise set up to address all of these changes coming out. Number 3, I think in this community in which I'm welcomed today, in this community, it is all about an open platform, an open solutions. In contrast to some of the vendors out there who offer technology in a monolithic way, or who claim that they are a one-stop shop and that they cover it all, MobileXpense, and I believe by extension, the BATM community believes way more in an open solution, in an open platform, in an ecosystem, whereby each of the players has its speciality and each of the players interacts, coming to one solution in the end. As we have this process and as we have this open platform, we see that companies today take the slowdown of the economy, the slowdown of the spend today as the ideal moment to go and connect some of these dots for the first time and to really rethink how they're going to do their spend management forward going. So it is a unique moment to all of us today. Central in all of this, and it comes from the corporate value, or one of the corporate values for MobileXpense, is that we care. We care for employees, our own company employees, but also the employees of our customers with whom we work. In total, 1.7 million people which we're touching every single time they are working on their expenses, they're traveling or making expenses. For all of these employees, we want to make it hassle-free. We want to make it an intuitive and efficient, frictionless process. Why? First of all, we thereby facilitate the flow and get to a faster reimbursement for the employee, but more important, we work on employee engagement. As we see the trend on consumerization, the thin line between an individual, a consumer, and the line between an employee is fading. All of us have our mobile phones next to us. All of us are used to be helped day in, day out by smart apps who manage our lives as we go through this crisis. Well, that's exactly what MobileXpense does. We help all of these individuals through their day in a hassle-free way. So 4 things to remember, and Jeroen probably will come back to these in more detail later on. But before we do that, allow me, as I presented myself, to represent to you also the company in a few key figures. The company I represent, MobileXpense, is a European-based team of expense or business expense specialists. We have experts with us who have been working on this for the last 20 years, but it is since 2017 when Fortino Capital found this diamond in the rough that we accelerated the business, and that as a scale-up company, we are starting to grow exponentially. With this small team of specialists who have one focus and solve one critical problem on expense management, we serve all different types of customers. We do cater to large organizations and to mid-size companies. We do cater for a standard offer. For some of you, expense management is something that should work, no questions asked, standard process, we roll it out, and we help our employees and our company. To others, it is more complex. Others require more customization, more recommendations as well, and more specific support and service. We can handle both to all types of customers. As you can see, we carry with us 3 products in our MobileXpense family and offer today. The first product is the MobileXpense product, but next to that, we also offer Déclaré, which is a typical solution for mid-sized companies. And on the Swedish market, you will know us as Dicom Expense by MobileXpense. How does that translate into numbers? Let me show these key numbers to you, the facts. First of all, and you see some of the logos on the bottom of that slide, we have over 1,800 implementations year to date. That represents some key numbers in 19 million transactions in a year and 1 billion of expense managed in a year. Most important to me is that we are touching 1.7 million users with our application already today, and that we have a customer retention, we have happy customers for almost 100% of our customer installed base. We carry this as a really important matter. All of these customers, as you see below, why did they choose for MobileXpense? They choose for MobileXpense for a few different reasons. I think I can elaborate on that one. We address their specific needs as they are building a mid-sized business right now, or as they're running cross-country, cross-company, large multinational organizations. We stand for a quick and easy deployment with a fast ROI, and Jeroen will come back on that ROI calculation. As I said, we offer to these customers of ours an open platform, any online booking tool, any ERP, any travel agency, payroll or card provider you want to connect with, you'll find MobileXpense in the middle of that. Across more than 70 countries around the world, with, of course, all of our knowledge built into our solutions, allowing to automate checks and controls through artificial intelligence, make sure that all of these companies can actually look into the specifics, the outliers, what they can change, and don't have to manage a manual process any longer. Last but not least, we really stand for a simple solution, straightforward pricing and agreement with us on a subscription. We don't want to come back with complex license agreements and a very nasty sting in the end. What you see is what you get, and we're open to work with you as a customer on that. That's what our customer said so far. Let me zoom into one last element with you today, which is the open ecosystem that we have built. We see ourselves really in the middle of that ecosystem. Some of the logos here hide some of the logos which are not presented on the slide today. but please take away that we integrate seamlessly and natively with most of the major HR, ERP, and accounting players out there, that we do have strong links in the travel industry, as we are present here today as well, with both OBT and TMC players, as you can see their logos. Historically very strongly connected to all of the financial service providers, and recently strengthening as well our links with digital suppliers, which we are onboarding onto our platform. And one of the specialities, which Jeroen certainly will mention, is that we gained expertise over many, many years in all of these countries on VAT recovery. So that's in a nutshell who we are. I hope I worked up an appetite to learn more about the solution and to do a deep dive on that one. And thereby, Jeroen, I'd really like to hand over to you to present to our audience MobileXpense from your point of view.
All right. Thank you, Tine. And thank you, Pascal and Sophie, for having us. It's great to have this opportunity. Of course, we would have loved to do this in a room, but I think this is the situation of today. And I think there's an opportunity ahead of us in dealing with that. So I do want to give you a bit more insights on how we make it happen for our customers. What is it that makes our customers successful? What is it that makes customers reaching their business objectives? And I like to speak, let's say, with the voice of our customer. I think they're much more powerful and probably much smarter than I am. And another case here is Proximus, a long trusted customers of ours also. And their Henrik, their finance system and process manager, says that, hey, MobileXpense has made expense management invisible for us. Which you could argue, is that a good thing or not? But okay, in the end, it's an excellent thing, because what it means is that the user experience that Proximus and MobileXpense together has been able to offer to their employees makes it a seamless process. It's integrated with their financial systems, with their SAP ERP, where all of the employee spend is settled seamlessly, and they have that spend visibility also there. They have been able to strongly reduce the workload in their accounting department with MobileXpense, which actually, I think it ties into cost savings and efficiency gains, which is, I think, today more than ever, really important. But it also ties to that employee experience and that employee satisfaction, because we're not only talking about end users, we're very much talking about the finance team and other stakeholders also. They have been able to make that a seamless process by having different policies in place, which allows for certain people and employee profiles to only to declare specific types of expenses. A technician on the road has a different nature of expensing, or a different entitlement of business expenses than, for example, a salesperson being on the road. And all of that is managed automatically within MobileXpense, and last but not least, that on a safe and a secure platform, as we refer today. But if we look at that, and if we look at what drives our customers today, or what are the key priorities for organizations today, I think we talk about digital transformation. We talk about digitization. I think in the world that we're living in today, it's more important than ever. I think the organizations that are unable to make that digital transformation, I think they will come out of this a lot more difficult than companies that are ready, that have taken that shift, or that are actively taking it. But definitely a second one is also, hey, optimize the cost. One of the things in optimizing cost is optimizing the process, but there's additional things. And when you think about optimizing or getting to an agile state, as we call it, for employee expense management, it is about business user efficiency. You want your people to be happy, but you want them also to be able to focus on their core activity. And let's be fair, managing or submitting expenses is not a core activity for users. It's about process efficiency savings. How does that end-to-end travel and expense management process run seamless? How can you make sure that the key stakeholders need to spend as less time as on it as needed? And more about that, how we do that coming later. We talk about VAT recovery, which actually is a very hot topic today, because we see a lot of our customers engaging with us today still to, hey, how can we recover the VAT still from 2019 or before in that, which they're entitled to until the end of the year. And having that electronic data, that electronic accounting data, that electronic spend facilitates really the process of VAT recovery, domestic, but definitely also foreign or VAT. Fraud reduction. I think we have plenty of stories of customers that actually, once fraud was a trigger for starting their expense management optimization program, Recticel, as we referred to earlier, as one example. But it can mean a big thing to you as a company. And fraud is in different ways. It could be, hey, simple duplicates that happen, or mileage, a typical example of, let's say, hey, if you're managing your expenses on a sub-optimized system or Excel and say, hey, I need to declare mileage. Yeah, okay, I did a trip of 35 kilometers, but I'll put 40 kilometers. But if you do that 2 or 3 times a week, at the end of the day or at the end of the year, it represents a sizable part of your T&E spend. And last but not least, we talked about it, the digitalization, the digital transformation, running an electronic process, but all the way also to running a compliant digital archive for your business expenses also. All of these, they add up into that optimized process, those savings, and they go straight into your company's bottom line. So I want you to meet Buzz Aldrin. I think he's pretty famous, right? Buzz Aldrin is a finance executive, and his priorities are cost management and process optimization. Actually, if we look at Gartner, what does Gartner say? That, hey, CFO priorities, what are they or what should they be in 2020 and beyond? I think it is really about finance analytics. It is about that spend visibility and that cost visibility, but it's also about digital transformation, or how Gartner expresses that finance technology optimization. So I think it's really what keeps Buzz busy. Let's put it like that, or what keeps him awake at night. So getting that spend visibility is an important thing. How, as an organization, do you get visibility into your employee spend? What are the key categories, and how do they evolve? How do they compare year on year, quarter by quarter, business unit by business unit? And zooming in on that to get the right level of visibility to that. Zooming out again to a higher level, getting a visibility on, hey, what are the dimensions we can look at? How is my spend across territories? How is my spend across categories? How is my spend across cost centers? Or a combination of those, getting visibility on, hey, where is my hotel spend and what does it represent, etc., etc. Again, having that insight based on the data that you have available is really important. And it's not only about spend, it's an important piece. It's also about the process visibility. How long does it take to get my cost visible? How long does it take to get my cost approved? How long does it take to get my cost settled and reimbursed? Talk about employee experience, reducing the cycle time of business expenses, making sure your employees are reimbursed seamlessly and as soon as possible is really important, and getting the visibility in that also. Getting the holistic view all the way from, hey, what's my total spend, to, hey, what's the individual spend on a transaction or an expense report. Going into travel, hey, we used to travel. We're not traveling so much today, but we will be traveling tomorrow or the day after perhaps. But getting visibility on what are the most popular routes, what is the average cost, what are the outliers, and how can we deal with that? How could that make me take actionable decisions on, hey, preferred rates, preferred suppliers, etc., etc. Adjusting company policies, or creating ad hoc reports in there is a really important thing. So Buzz also, what he wants to know is, hey, how is my spend on a particular category? I say, hey, I have a country view, but very easily I can move to a category view. Hey, this is my spend in a particular time period, and I want to focus on my hotel spend. And then when I have a view on my hotel spend, actually I want to see my hotel spend in a particular country, let's say France. When going there, hey, I know my hotel spend in France. I want to look at it from a cost center point of view. How does that differ, or how does that orient between my business units, the operations department? And from there, they can see, hey, what's the average price we pay for a hotel in France? Or imagine going down on that on a city level. I think that level of visibility is really what we see keeps senior finance executives, but definitely also procurement and travel executives busy in the company, and really helps them in becoming more efficient and effective in their job. So that's one piece of what we call carefree travel and expense management. Those insights that make you that help making you quicker decisions. The second element that we'll dive into that is automated control, the process efficiency, which we've been talking about, how that helps you getting a grip on that cost. But also we'll get a bit of a better view on the employee experience and the mobile app that we have, Spend Catcher, how that makes you managing your expenses on the go. And last but not least, going from an expense management to an integrated travel and expense management experience with the open platform that we have. So get a grip on cost, the automation of the process, reducing accounting department workload, which was one of the drivers, for example, of Proximus. We want to remove the hassle also for the finance people. We have business rules in place, we have spend limits in place, we have discrepancy flags that pop up, etc., etc. But we go beyond that to reach the highest level of automation and the maximum policy compliance that we have. And therefore, next to Buzz, I want you to meet Spend Controller. Spend Controller is finance and controlling's best friend, but also cost center owners really are very happy getting to know Spend Controller. So actually what it does, and here we take a look at an expense report that is submitted. They get an overview in the system. Hey, what transactions are part of my expense report? But there you can see, hey, a really view on transaction, key data being verified on, hey, what did the user submit as expense data? What did the system recognize? There's really full OCR and artificial intelligence recognition of, and hey, and where are the discrepancies? Here you can see, hey, actually the user submitted a different VAT amount than what the system recognized for the control data, and that will be flagged. And ultimately, that will allow your organization and your finance team to focus on these exceptions. Another example here is we have the key data verification, but we go beyond with audit rules. Audit rules in two different ways. Imagine, hey, minibar expenses typically not allowed in an expense policy. What if your team would have an automatic flag on, hey, we scanned the whole content of your invoices or receipts for category specific rules on what is obliged or what is not allowed on your policy. A minibar notice on your hotel invoice automatically flagging your transaction as non-compliant. I think that's what takes automation and compliance to the next level. So ultimately, what does it do? What benefits does it bring? It's that automated control, taking up to 90% out of the effort out of the process. So talking about reducing process waste, I think that's a really great achievement and really contributing to the business case of optimizing your process. It's managed compliance, 100% policy compliance with powerful and flexible rules, but also that spend visibility, that process performance, and these insights that we've seen with analytics. So that is when we look at what it means for finance, for procurement, stakeholders in your organization. Next to that, I want you to meet Amy. Amy is an employee of a company, of your company. She's an occasional traveler. And as many people of us today, she's regularly working from home, if not all the time. So she has a mobile with her, and actually what she wants to do is making sure that submitting her expenses is not a hassle, that it goes easy and seamless and just on the go, anytime, any place that she wants to. So actually imagine that she has an expense. She went for a meeting into Brussels and she's parked there and she wants to submit her parking ticket. She opens the app, she just snaps, hey, I want to create an expense, click plus. The system will automatically detect the receipt. It will extract it. There's just a simple category selection to be done by scrolling, by selecting, by typing out of the customer-specific category list that you have. Zoom, snap, automatically and instantly, the key data of your receipt will be extracted, the amount, the date, the supplier, and boom, ready she is. It just took a few seconds to create that expense transactions. Very easy, very seamless. But it's not all that. There's more. Let's say beyond the parking ticket. Actually, we were working from home a lot, so she had she needed to buy some more home office materials, which actually we see in companies' expense policies being added to that. It's, I think, part of the change that we're going through. People work from home. Work policies are adapted, but expense policies are adapted. Hey, so she also added the Staples receipt, but she went on a trip to Rotterdam to meet some colleagues in the Rotterdam office that they have. She stopped in a Starbucks and submitted her receipt there also. And while she's there, she having her coffee, she wants to submit already her mileage. So yes. Let me see here. This is what we need. So as we've seen her taking creating an expense, she can click on the same button, let's say on the button next to that for a mileage. It's integrated with Google Maps or Bing Maps if that's what you prefer, or for example, for territory reasons, for our customers in China, Google is not their best friend dealing with that. You just have a Google Places integration. I say, hey, I go from MobileXpense office to the Declare office in Rotterdam. Automatically, it will calculate the distance. If allowed by policy, you can change the distance if you need to do a detour, but it will flag it as a potential difference. Hey, and on the way back, I already want to do my return, and I live in the most beautiful city of Belgium, so adding that there. And automatically it will calculate based on the rate that you have, based on the type of vehicle you're assigned to, legal rates, like in Belgium, we have legally specific rates that are managed by the government. These are automatically in, these are automatically updated and maintained without any hassle for an employee or an administrator. But if companies for certain reasons want specific rates in there, we can do that. And the same goes for, let's say, per diem allowances. Hey, my 2-day trip to Rotterdam, I'm submitting my daily allowances for that. Very easy. You've seen the expense, there is the mileage, and I can just with a click also create a per diem allowance. Click my start date and time. I select my end date and time. Go there, I select my destination, and automatically the system will calculate the right amount that you're entitled to from a company and a legal compliance point of view. And there we are. And then I have all my expenses of that trip and beyond in there, and I can easily submit my expense report, selecting the expenses, including them in an existing or a new report, or submit. Or as an alternative, as we work with customers, is automatic expense report creation. Being it on, hey, automatically taking all expenses of a week into a report and submitting that, or a month, or based on a trip or other types of requests that there are, and just submitting, and off we go. So here, in just a few minutes, I've created my expenses, receipts, my mileage, my per diems, all done, all checked and submitted, ready to go. So for me, when I'm on a trip, and Amy definitely also, by the time she gets home, her expenses are already submitted. And actually, I want you to meet that, because typically by the time Amy gets home, her expenses are already approved. because Edmund, he has also his mobile with him. And he sees, okay, he gets a notification, okay, I got a new expense report to approve. Just looking at it, okay, that looks fine, except go, and it goes to finance, or in parallel, it goes to finance for controlling review. That is when Edmund is on the go. But Edmund could as well be on his PC. He can log in on the web interface that we have, which is, from a user experience point of view, very similar. Which means that, and that's the feedback we get through user studies we do with our customers, is that whether you're on the mobile or on the web, it's very intuitive, it's easy to use. I feel, let's say, at home, and the two interfaces really align well. There is the report, you can see it's been submitted, the total amount, the different transactions, the amounts, the different types. We see their receipts, we see their the mileage, we see that per diem. You can easily see already in the list, checking the receipt. Also, an overview is their business expenses, private expenses, which could actually easily be managed, and they're confirmed as you go. So just now, in I think just a few minutes, I think we've gotten a good view on how easy it is to capture that employee spend as an organization, tying to that finance and procurement objective on getting that visibility, but also tying to that employee experience on how easy it is and how seamless it can be. So that's what brings us to the user benefits. It's that hassle-free expensing for happy employees, which I think now is more important than ever, because our people go through quite a lot of resilience, and we need to make sure they are engaged with us. So giving them an intuitive, efficient, and frictionless expense management experience, and that quick reimbursement with the different tools in place, offering that level of experience, and dealing with your company requirements on the spend visibility, but also the reconciliation that you want between card payments and the expenses and the policy adherence. So we've seen, let's say, hey, what it means for finance and procurement. We've seen what it means for Amy and for Edmund, but there's more. Let's say, moving from employee expense management to that integrated T&E experience. Remember what Tina explained about the ecosystem that we're part of. We talked about VAT recovery already, but it's also about, hey, travel. You do pre-trip planning, pre-trip approval, you have different types of trips that you have. Even now, even more than ever, for example, companies look like, okay, my employee is doing a trip by car, but I think I want to know about that as an organization. It's not just about booking a flight. It's really, I want to know, and I want to be aware as a company, if my employee is taking the car to Rotterdam, I want to be aware of that. I want to approve up on it. These things are becoming increasingly important. But also looking at global and international organizations, when we talk about travel and when we talk about booking platforms, typically there's not one size fits all for all your geographies or the sizes or the types of content that you need when you look for travel. So making sure that you have that open platform to integrate with the different OBTs you have in your different regions or divisions and manage all that, and still have that experience of integration and have that full spend visibility. So for that, I just want to spend 1 minute on, hey, imagine Amy's planning her next trip to Rotterdam. So she goes from the expenses part into the travel part, the travel request part in MobileXpense, where she has an overview of her past trips or booked trips or requests done through MobileXpense. And she can easily create a new one. I need to go to Stockholm. I will go there in January. Just clicking, filling out, hey, this is when I go, this is when I return. I can even give preferred times because, hey, I know I can fly out in the morning, but coming back, I know I still have a meeting in the morning. So I just want to fly out in the afternoon. They can easily fill that in. So, hey, I want to leave after 2. Then they submit. They can add an accommodation. They can add car rental if they want, and they can submit. the request, which depending on the policy configuration goes through an approval process already now. And once it's approved through policy settings or through explicit approval, she get access to the booking platform seamlessly. This is now Citric, but this could as well be, we talked about Get There, we talked about Agencia, we have integration with Onesto for our German customers. And you can see the preferences really are taken into account: the flight date and time to go out, departure, the destination, the return time to make sure it's a return flight after 2 p.m. is taken into account, and seamlessly they integrate, and that can confirm on the booking platform. The key travel data is back taken into MobileXpense, getting that full visibility and that integrated experience. And that integrated experience can cover different angles. We've seen here, like, hey, starting the trip journey in MobileXpense and punching out, as we call that, to the booking platform. For other customers, it's more about, hey, I want to make sure that I get my travel data, my PNR data back into my expense system. That can trigger automatic expense reports to, again, optimize that journey for the user and have that holistic view and have your link between your expense and your travel. Or it could be about invoice integration, that, hey, my flight bookings or my hotel booking invoices fly straight into my expense system. So that ultimately gives you those integrated, that integrated experience and the benefits that come with that. Support for on and offline requests, that seamless integration, the possibilities of pre-trip approvals within MobileXpense, in the OBT, or a line between the two. Ultimately, that open approach helps you as an organization achieving that cost control and that travel policy compliance. So I think that was, in a nutshell, what we believe, how we believe MobileXpense is helping its customers and what feedback we get from customers on helping them. And why do we do that? I think ultimately it's because of the return they get of that and the business case we realize with them. This is an example of a business case we did with a potential customer and the savings that they can get out of that on a 3-year period. Looking at the business user efficiency, the process efficiency savings, the foreign VAT recovery, and the integrated approach of electronic expense data with the specialist partners in that, and the digital transformation. The return that provides, the payback period that you have, is something that speaks for itself, meaning that there's no time to wait, and basically there's a cost of doing nothing today. So I think what we want to say today is that this is something we work with customers, and especially we invite you to work with us on that. We have a really great interactive ROI tool that we work on together that you have access to, and we can look at the savings that you can use to engage with your internal stakeholders. And we do that in a consultative and a partner approach, without, let's say, any commitment, but really to help you understand and to help your colleagues understand the value and the return you get from optimizing your expense management process. So I think that's the key message I wanted to bring to you today. There's a lot more, but we'll be happy to talk to you, of course, to explain in more detail and how this can apply to you.
Great. Thanks, Jeroen. Sorry, let me, Pascal, conclude. And first of all, thank Jeroen for presenting us today what it looks like and how it works and how MobileXpense approaches expense management. Maybe as a call to action, a few elements to take away from the session today, Jeroen. First of all, your expense management solution can become the most reliable source of information for managing your spend, as we have seen, both on optimizing the process, on getting hidden costs to the surface, and to controlling overall the spend by having the insight. That's what we offer to the Office of the CFO. That is how we help finance teams across our customer base to really get an insight, start controlling, and start monitoring and enforcing compliance. It reinforces cost awareness at the supervisor level, as I said, but also at the employee level. And that is a second element which we do that is really focused on this employee experience, making it hassle-free for you and for me in today's digital world and in today's changing world as well, whereby an expense was linked to a travel in the past, planning a travel, having a flight, etc. And today, other categories and other ways of adopting to the current situation need to be catered for. So that's why we believe it is a super smart investment to make today. As Jeroen pointed out, it pays back quite quickly, and we're there to help you and calculate how fast that return could come and how big that investment could pay back. We want to stand here in front of you as an open ecosystem partner, ready to engage with all of your players in your ecosystem. And we do believe, on a timing point of view, that today is a good moment to start, as we are preparing, hopefully soon, to get through this crisis and boost business growth again for each of our companies. It might be the right time to invest, and we'll be super happy to help you with that investment. Thanks, Jeroen. Thanks, Pascal. Handing it over back to you and to the audience.
Thank you very much, Tine and Jeroen, for a very interesting presentation this morning. Highly appreciated. For those people on the phone, if you have any questions, feel free to submit them in the chat function. We did receive a few questions during the presentation. So the first one that I would like to ask is one of the questions we received saying or asking, how do you measure, evaluate the process efficiency savings? Can you elaborate on that, please?
Sure. It's a really good question. And there's numerous aspects of that. I think, okay, there's business user efficiency from an end user perspective is, hey, how much time does it take for a user to submit his expenses? And let's say comparing it with starting from the paper world, where people at the end of the week, or at the end of the month, take their pile of expenses on their desk and go and sorting them out, finding them a way then to put them on the multifunctional device and scan them all at once and then rescan them because they were not really properly taken, and filling out the forms that they have. With MobileXpense doing that just with a snap and the user experience that you've seen. And then from, let's say, an end-to-end process point of view, it's really about when we talk to our controller teams, or let's say the controller teams of our customers, checking on the expenses, the individual transactions, are the receipts there? Are they within policy? Is the necessary data there? Is the right VAT applied, etc., etc.? That takes a lot of time that we are able to take out. In addition to that, the integrated experience on, hey, managing your expenses in a tool, but then they need to be properly recorded or settled into your accounting system also, making that a seamless and an integrated and an automated experience. I think these are the key elements that basically reduce the time of controllers throughout the process. Let's say reducing that with a massive amount of time, and that's where we see these time savings of up to 90%.
Thank you very much. I did not receive any other questions for the moment. Right. So I think we are able to close our webinar this morning. Again, I want to thank, obviously, MobileXpense, Tine and Jeroen for your partnership this morning. It's highly appreciated. I want to thank everybody who joined this morning. Thanks for joining. Stay tuned about more content coming your way during the month of November and December. We'll be able to communicate more details in the next couple of days. Again, hope to see you all at one of our next events, being it online for the moment due to the situation or longer term back in person. In the meantime, please stay healthy, take care of one another, and talk to you soon. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.